So, let's get real bloody bizarre now. If you've never seen my stuff before, it's time to leave. Who are this non-human group or grouping behind these particular bloodlines, and how do they interact? I had to go through this, so everyone else should as well.
So you make a list of hypotheses. This is obviously not, not the natural phenomenon, and the extraterrestrial explanation seemed to be the best one. Why shouldn't we know that there's got to be life throughout the universe? So why shouldn't it be able to come here, especially since there must be civilizations there that are thousands, if not millions of years ahead of us? But then, as you get more and more data, you realize that's not what the witnesses are describing. What the witnesses are describing is something that, in many cases, comes out of nowhere, disappears into nowhere. There are cases of objects becoming transparent on the spot, physical objects, material objects. And I have no question that people have said, well, Vallée doesn't believe this is physical. Well, of course it is physical. It's material at some times, but it can also change shape. It can also merge with other objects, and it can also disappear on the spot. Well, if it does that, then it could be from anywhere, anytime.
We always try to, to discredit the old legends, trying to say, no, these people were crazy, they thought everything was possible. But now we have the videos, and that's the big difference. Could you believe there are videos now of probably angels in the sky?
And then I started looking at some of the things that didn't fit. And one of the things that I had to ask is, when did this actually start? Every UFO book starts with, on June 24, 1947, Kenneth Arnold saw something about Ukrainians. Well, that's not really true. I mean, we have data from the 30s and the 20s and from 1896 and 1897 all over the United States, and then you can go back in history. And many people don't want to hear that. They want to hear that this is, if you follow the first level extraterrestrial theory, then ETs, discovered us when the atom bomb went off and they came here to study us. Well, that's not what the data says. So when did it start? And I found, an enormous wealth of data going back to medieval times and even before. Of course, as you go back in history, you lose the cultural context, and it's harder to understand the data. But in medieval times, there were records, especially the records of the church, that were kept very, very carefully about strange phenomena. The skeptics are always saying, well, give us your best case and we'll take it apart. There is no such thing as one best case in any field. You have to look at an accumulation of cases and look for patterns, and then that's how the phenomenon reveals itself to you.
And for a long period of time, or for a period of time, I believed it was extraterrestrial. I now believe it is interdimensional, the phenomena. In other words, we're looking at so-called spirit beings from another dimension. And I back this up in the new book by equating it to ancient manuscripts where these beings manifested to human beings and what their reactions were, and then comparing it to reactions present day of people who have had encounters, and the similarities are striking.
First of all, you say to yourself, why would let's say anyone deliberately crash saucers
in Roswell, New Mexico, and then allow the bodies to be retrieved. What are these bodies, in fact? And it took me a long time to figure this out. And this is a theory, okay? There's a difference between the grays, the little guys, right, that we see that have now been enculturated with the big black slanted eyes that are about 4 feet tall, all right? Those, let's just call them the grays because pretty much everyone knows them as grays. But there's another creature which people and abductees talk about that they see on board the ships, and these are tall beings, and they assume different forms. Sometimes they can appear as reptilian, other times they can appear as insectoid, other times they can appear as Nordic. In other words, in my opinion, they're shapeshifters. Now, why would I say that? What backs it up? There's a scripture, once again, from our spiritual handbook, which says that basically fallen angels can appear as angels of light if they so choose. Okay. They can appear as angels of light if they so choose. That's a shapeshifter, but it shapeshifts. It can appear as whatever it wants to appear. Insectoid, reptilian, who knows what the thing really looks like. In my opinion, it's probably a reptilian.
Apparently there was some sort of a confrontation, there was some sort of a war between these beings, sides were drawn up, and we're kind of like, we're almost like cannon fodder in a way. This unseen war, which is happening in another dimension all around us that we don't see. So my point is this: what if the Greys are nothing more than some sort of a biological suit that enables the demons, let's say, to interface in this dimension? That's what I think the Greys are. That's why they're expendable. Me thinking, I wonder if there's some sort of like a biological clone or some sort of a, you know, a body, if you will, that these demons can interface, inhabit, and then, of course, move about in this three-dimensional time-space continuum. When you go back and you read the Book of Enoch, which, by the way, is found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, it amplifies the mischief that these fallen angels got into in and around the time of Genesis 6, which is why it was a global flood, because the Nephilim were on the earth, and these guys were all over the earth, and some of these skeletons that have been unearthed, specifically in Turkey, were over 30 feet tall. As we pushed west in Ohio and different places, they found mounds, and they would do primitive archaeological digs. And this is documented. I'm not making this stuff up. They found skeletons, oftentimes, that reached over 9 feet in length, with 6 fingers, 6 toes, and red hair.
Now, one of the great mysteries of the West is what happened to these giants. There was nearly 60 skeletons brought out of this cave, but today they're nowhere to be found. Is it that there is some kind of archaeological cover-up that has occurred here?
The main point is that that term is used of angels, fallen angels. And the offspring of those fallen angels with human women has produced a hybrid called a Nephilim. In the Hebrew, the term means the fallen ones. Also, the term is gigantes, which doesn't mean giants, it means earthborn. There was a gene pool problem on the planet Earth.
Is that where the Bible then says that Noah was perfect? He wasn't perfect as a
his generations. Man. Verse 9. He was perfect in his generations. The word
DNA.
Perfect is tamim, meaning physical defects.
You know, when you see something like that, it's overwhelming. It will change your worldview. And is that the coming great deception that ancient manuscripts warn us of? Here's a prophecy from 2,000 years ago, that what is coming on the earth will be so bizarre that even the elect would be deceived if that were possible.
An object videotaped by many and seen by thousands over several nights in the Arizona sky in 1997.
Major sighting here.